Hey folks, this is Vincent Natalie with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're gonna play Legacy of Dragonholt. So we did an unboxing video the other day, and today we're gonna try this out and see if we like it. More than likely, we'll try and get through everything at some point, but according to just the first booklet in the box, the approximate playtime is 50 to 80 minutes. So more than likely, we'll just do the 2 new roads portion of the game, and then as shown in the unboxing video, there's a ton more in the box over here. Now, this is definitely not my standard board game video. As you can see, it's very digitized. I do have a browser open where we can take a look at the rulebook as we need to. This is the character creation PDF screen. We've already done that off camera. I'm going to be narrating, and Ida Lee is going to be embarking on a solo experience, making all the decisions. That way, if something happens and bad things result, it's not my fault because she made all the decisions. So
Yeah,
I like it
that's
that way.
true. Well, you're kind of the driver technically, right? You're like the host.
Yeah, I guess. So I'm the unofficial GM, even though I'm not really preparing much. I mean, so yeah, I have a couple of tabs open for this. I also have a Excel spreadsheet, a very crude one at that. There's that. Okay, so this Excel spreadsheet here is what she chose. Her name is Xana Fenro, the same name that she uses in her D&D campaign. In fact, her race is a wanderer gnome, and her class is a bard, also the same as her D&D campaign that we're doing. Age 27, gender female. You start the game with 100 gold and 2 fame. You chose, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 skills, and that gives you a maximum stamina of 12. And I have a little note here. It says 14 by default plus 4 alone is equal to 18 maximum stamina, but you took 3 extra skills at 2 each. So that brings your maximum stamina down to 12. 18 minus 6 is 12. So that's how you got to that. But you have Arcana, Stealth, Agility, Persuasion, Deception, History, Survival, and Performance as your skills.
Yep.
And I also have other tabs that I've created, one for story tracking purposes. There's a somewhere in this, here it is. So somewhere in this box is, you're supposed to mark off like A1 through Z8 by just Xing off these little squares here. I've just created an Excel spreadsheet, and the cells themselves, A1, B1, C1, and so on. I'll just mark an X in the locations where we're going to be marking off story plots. And then 2 New Roads is the booklet that I'm going to be reading out of today. So there's that. But there are other tabs for the other booklets, should we ever get to them, hopefully. Okay, so I think the first thing we're going to do is, let's get back to that. And I do believe that there was an introduction entry in here in the rulebook, and I'll just quickly read it off. I don't think Sonia's death was an accident, explains Celise, warming her hands at the fire. It's late, and an unseasonable chill has set in around the manor. If nothing else, it reflects her mood. Foul play, asks Timothy. Even with her back turned, Celise can all but hear the steward's brow arch. Based on what? Something Sonia told me herself, replies Celise. She turns and looks over the small office where Timothy manages the Countess's affairs. She crosses the distance to him and shares what she knows in a quiet voice. He listens, asking no questions until she is done. Who else have you told, he asks. Just you. I see. I shall discuss this with the Countess in the morning. For now, I think it is best to keep this quiet. Philip, especially, doesn't need these thoughts gnawing at him with his sister's death so fresh. Yes, I think you're right, sighs Celise as she departs. Perhaps my fears are groundless, she muses to herself. In any case, I've already left my letter with the town clerk to be sent with the morning's post. She returns to her bedroom, jumping at every shadow cast by the statues in the gallery, and every sound that could be a muffled footfall. You're imagining things, she whispers. The nearest statue tips and falls towards her. That was the introduction as found in the rulebook. And now
That's just the introduction. There's so much reading in this, isn't it?
there's I
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
if people find my voice grating, then this is going to be a very long video.
That's why you got to do different accents. You got to go close to the microphone and be like,
this ASMR Legacy of Dragonholt. All right. So this is now from the book, Two New Roads. Okay, you slump down on the wooden bench, stretching your legs. You have been traveling for nearly a week now toward a small village called Dragonholt. Your journey is at the request of Celise, a former adventuring companion and friend, who has since found her calling as a tutor to the children of Countess Regina Fairfax, Lady of Dragonholt. You take a moment to reread the letter, and it says here, read the letter from Celise. So now I'm going to open this up and read the letter.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, I pray this letter finds you in good health for... Ocne? OCNE? What the hell is that? For once? Oh, maybe it's a typo. Health for once because I need you to travel. Oh, okay. So first of all, once is spelled OCNE and travel is spelled TRAEVL.
Huh.
Either that's intentional. Yeah, all these words are all jumbled. Anyway.
Do I have to look at it?
Well, if you want to, but like, I'm not making this crap up. I mean,
no, I know. I'm just saying, if it's like a puzzle or something, is that something?
Well,
I have to look at?
Thought. All right. Well, I'll continue. I pray this letter finds you in good health for once, because I need you to travel. As you might have heard, I have taken a position as a tutor in the household of Lady Regina Fairfax, Countess of Dragonholt, just outside the village. I elected to take this position because I hoped for some peace and quiet after that business in Narek Hall. Had I known what my future held, I would have done something else entirely. Lady Regina's 3 children are more than lively enough to deny me anything resembling peace or quiet. Even now they are mainly grown. I remain very busy. But I did not write you to complain about my lot in life. As you know, I never complain. Even when the so-called dwarven wine is very obviously an inferior human vintage. Again, or when my very favorite cloak, the blue one, is stained by some drunken lush spilling his wine. Elves should really stay out of human taverns. I write to you because I fear something sinister is at work here in Dragonholt, and I require your assistance. I dare not say more openly, as I think it is likely this message will be intercepted. I can trust no one here to help me with this letter, or with this matter. After that business in Narek Hall, I have only you and a small handful of other allies left. Please help me. There is more at stake than you know. Celise. She needs to work on her grammar. Every other word in this is just completely misspelled, but that might be for effect. Anyway, so you are uncertain why Celise has summoned you to Dragonholt. Her letter is strange, speaking only of a vague threat that requires your assistance. And although you are sure the letter was written in her hand, the message contains several details that you find uncharacteristic of the elf you adventured with in the past. You had never known Celise to drink dwarven wine, and you would swear she always wore a green cloak, not a blue one. It is not unthinkable that her preferences have changed over the years, but something about the way the message is written makes you feel there is more to the letter than is obvious. You have always known Celise to be excessively proper in her speaking. See, I'm noticing that. She must have been in a panic while writing to have produced so many spelling errors. Even more alarming is the brief note on the back of the letter. You had not received any word from Celise before this one. Could she have sent another letter that was intercepted as she had been feared? I'm looking on the back of the letter, and it says, please refer to my first letter on the back of it. I didn't notice that before, but yeah, there's a little note there. Regardless of the vagueness of her request, you owe Celise at least this much after that business in Narek Hall. As the tutor in the employ of the Countess, she may be in a position to reward you handsomely for any assistance you can render. Excuse me, is this the road the fastest way to Dragonholt? You look up from the letter to see Miriam, a gnome merchant you've been traveling with, talking to another traveler and pointing down a path toward a forbidding-looking forest. Aye, if you're going to Dragonholt, you'll have to go through Eventide Forest. Ain't no way around it. About a day's travel straight through. Miriam thanks the traveler, and he continues on his way in the direction opposite the forest. You fold the letter and stow it away before standing. It wouldn't do to rest for too long. You sling your baggage over your shoulder, and you prepare to resume your travels. Miriam turns to face you. Well, what are we waiting for? If that's the road to Dragonholt, let's be off. Miriam has been traveling with you for some 3 days now. Like you, she is traveling to Dragonholt, and she put it when you met, the more the merrier. We should proceed with caution, calls Braxton from behind you. The orc woman heps Miriam's bag off the ground where the gnome had left it and drops it into Miriam's open arms. Rumor has it there are bandits who make camp in these woods. We should watch our backs as we pass through. Since meeting Miriam and the orc knight-errant, you have found Braxton to be the more cautious of the pair by a wide margin. As far as you can tell, Miriam has hired Braxton for protection, but at times the orc seems to dote on the gnome more than a bodyguard would. You nod in agreement at Braxton's comment. With a last fleeting glance at the crossroads signpost, you follow after the energetic gnome, who has already started off toward Eventide Forest. So now you've got a choice.
Okay.
First, you could do, let's make some headway before we lose the light. Another thing you can do is, what else have you heard about these bandits? And the other thing is, stick close, Miriam. It's dangerous to get separated. So I can read those to you again. A is...
I think the bandits. Like, I wouldn't mind knowing more information about the bandits. So B.
B, okay. What else have you heard about these bandits? Okay, so I got to turn into 7773. Okay. Braxton strides beside you, keeping an ever-watchful eye on her eager companion. Not much. I've just heard from some travelers that a number of caravans have been ambushed while passing through. Valuable goods were taken, but the merchants and traders have been mostly unharmed. Mark story point S1. So, just real quick, I will head to story point S1, which would be here, and just put an X to show that you've encountered that story point.
Cool.
And now we'll go back to... There we go. Okay, so you've got A or B here. We should hurry along before it gets dark, or Miriam, best you don't get too far ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna scold Miriam a little bit.
So you want B, Miriam, best you don't get too far ahead?
Yeah.
Okay.
Miriam!
So 2808. Okay. The young gnome glances over her shoulder at you with a raised eyebrow. You're starting to sound like Braxton. She twirls to face you and walks backward down the road in front of you. Despite my size, I'm quite capable of protecting myself, you know. Braxton chuckles warmly to herself. I believe our new friend is worried for you, not because of your size, but because of your nature. Even though you can protect yourself, try not to worry us too much. Mark story point R6. All right, I'm not going to change the camera this time. I'll just go ahead and mark it off here. Okay.
The R6 and S1?
Yeah, so R6. S1 was the first one we marked off, and R6 is the second one. She's also got an Excel spreadsheet, a copy of mine, and she's sort of double-checking my work, as it were. So now I'm supposed to read entry 1340. Okay. As you speak with your traveling companions, small trees begin to dot the terrain around you. Tall grass gives way to brush, and you soon find yourself at the edge of the forest. Time passes. And there's a quick note about time here. Throughout your adventures, you will track the passage of time on the tracking sheet for the current quest. Each unit of time represents an abstract amount of time that could be anything from a few minutes to multiple hours, depending on the current quest. When the time passes, mark one box of time with a check mark or an X. Some effects and future entries will reference how much time has passed. Okay, so I need to go to the New Roads spreadsheet.
Oh, that's the one I don't have.
You should have it. There's tabs along the bottom of my Excel spreadsheet, and there's all of them there.
Oh, I see that. Never mind. Just
yeah,
kidding.
so click on the Two New Roads tab.
Okay.
And then mark an X in the next to the 1.
Okay.
Okay. You good on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as you walk, you take the chance to become better acquainted with your fellow travelers. Ask Miriam what she plans to do in Dragonholt, or ask Braxton what she plans to do in Dragonholt.
Miriam.
All right. This option does not exhaust your activation token. We don't have to worry about activation tokens only because she's playing single player. The activation tokens are strictly multiplayer. Mark story point E7. Ooh. So we have to mark E7 on that. And read entry 3579. 3579. Here we go. Okay, I'm glad you asked, Bubbles Miriam. I'm going to set up the finest apothecary shop that Dragonholt has ever seen. I'll brew potions and sell remedies and make lots of money. She nods, tossing a vial of pink liquid into the air, catching it and balancing it on her finger for no particular reason. My aunt can help me get started. She already runs the best inn in town, and she's a fantastic tailor, too. Miriam flourishes her half-cape and brightly colored tunic. You've got a number of things here. A is ask Miriam what types of potions she brews. B, ask Miriam about her family. C, exchange brewing recipes with Miriam. Requires alchemy skill. D, compliment Miriam's attire and inquire about its maker. Requires craftsmanship or empathy skill. E is tell Miriam what you know of Dragonholt's markets. Requires history skill or streetwise skill. Lastly, educate Miriam on methods for barter and trade. Requires persuasion skill or streetwise skill. You want me to reread those?
Reread the last two.
The last two. Tell Miriam what you know of Dragonholt's markets. Requires history or streetwise. And the other one is educate Miriam on methods for barter and trade. Requires persuasion or streetwise.
Xana is a trader. You know, she likes like money and merchant stuff. So I think she's gonna go with that last option.
Educate Miriam on methods for barter and trade. It requires persuasion or streetwise. You do have persuasion. You do have persuasion. So you're gonna do that, and we'll read entry 8508. Okay. You talk Miriam through several strategies for ensuring a good price from her supplies and setting her own prices for clients. This would be easier if I had a clear idea what my expenses will be, muses Miriam. Aunt Sophie told me there's a place I can buy where the last apothecary used to keep his shop. It'll all be human-sized, of course, but I can manage. I don't know how much it will cost or if I'll need to take out a loan. Miriam sighs. Ugh, I can figure this stuff out later. Keep your eyes peeled for shrinking violet. It likes to grow in forests like these. Mark story points H1 and Z2. Okay, so H1 and, geez, all the way over here, huh? Z2.
Oh, jeez.
It's all right. Are you marking these off, or I can do it?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm doing it too.
Okay. So it says here, if 2 or more time has passed, read this entry, or read entry 7616. Well, only one time has passed at this point. So yeah. I'm going to read entry 7616. Okay. You continue down the road, and the sky overhead is soon obscured by the foliage of the forest canopy. Streams of sunlight dance around you as a gentle breeze shakes the leafy ceiling. Miriam skips forward and spins through the shafts of light, smiling and laughing. It would be best if you stayed close. Becoming lost in the woods is all too common for those not accustomed to traveling, without the sun or mood to guide them. Despite the orc's warning, Braxton makes no additional effort to keep pace with the playful gnome. If story point N3 is marked, which it is not, then read something. Otherwise, read 7094. Okay. What about you, asks Miriam. What are you planning to do in Dragonholt? Before you can answer, she hunches over and crooks one finger like a sinister hook, putting a sneer into her voice. Are you seeking vengeance on a terrible foe? Just as quickly, she swoons, throwing one hand artfully over her forehead. Or are you in search of love? Miriam tumbles backward over a log with a squawk. She grins up at you from a pile of sticks and leaves, or maybe it's just a chance encounter. She continues to talk about everything and nothing before finally pausing for a breath. You can A, ask Miriam about Eventide Forest, B, ask Miriam how she met Braxton, or C, ask Miriam about gnomes.
Let's go with B. How she met Braxton.
Okay, so 3686. Okay. Miriam starts laughing before she even begins her story about meeting Braxton. Well, first of all, whatever Braxton tells you, I wasn't drunk, says Miriam. But we did both get thrown out of the same tavern together. It was a good night. I remember it rather differently, says Braxton. Well, that's because you're no fun, Miriam winks at you. You see, Braxton is a wet blanket, but she keeps following me around because she secretly knows that she would never do anything exciting if she didn't. Also, you pay me to keep you safe, says Braxton. Also that, exclaims Miriam with a broad smile. If 2 time has passed, read this, otherwise read this. So 3859. Eventide Forest is an intimidating landmark, and you can see why Braxton was concerned. Within an hour of entering the forest, the thin, young trees give way to ancient, gnarled guardians. The light, leafy canopy transforms into an oppressive shroud that cloaks the road in darkness, even during the most sunny of days. Time passes. Alright, so that means we have to mark off. So 2 time has now passed on 2 new roads.
Yep.
In the darkness of Eventide Forest, a chilling stillness reigns, and even bird songs are drowned out by silence. You continue onward, Miriam's usual banter quieted by her new mood, 1 part fascination and 1 part fear. Braxton keeps an ever-vigilant eye on her surroundings, her hand now resting on the pommel of the blade at her waist. You soon come to a stop when you catch up to Miriam. She is glancing down what appears to be a small game trail that branches away from the main road. Up ahead, you see that a number of fallen trees are blocking your path. An old crossroad signpost marks the split, but the wood is too rotted and the writing too indecipherable. What do we do now? It doesn't seem like Lady Regina has been alerted yet. Braxton strains to look over the fallen trees. We could clear the roads ourselves, or send word to Lady Regina once we reach Dragonholt. We can try this trail, offers Miriam. Maybe it connects to the main road on the other side. So you've got 3 options. Scout along the game trail and report back. B, climb over the trees and continue on the main road. C, clear the road of debris before continuing.
I think the logical thing would be clearing it. I mean, scouting it would be good, but that's not Xana's way. She's kind of reckless a little bit, so...
You want to clear the debris before continuing.
Yeah.
Okay, 3962. Braxton produces an axe from her baggage, and you set to work clearing the trees from the road. Breaking each tree down into pieces small enough to move isn't complicated, but it is tiring. Your shoulders burn from swinging the axe, and your back aches from dragging the enormous tree limbs off to the side. Miriam busies herself with the small branches. When only larger bumps remain, she helps by singing a gnomish working song that seems to include invented verses mocking you, Braxton herself, gnomes in general, Eventide Forest, and any other subject that catches her fancy. 2 time passes.
Ooh, 2 of them.
So you're at 4 time has now passed.
Yep.
Okay. You each lose 1 stamina. You each lose 2 additional stamina unless you have the endurance skill.
Ooh. So that's 3 stamina total?
Yes, so you don't have endurance?
Nope.
Okay, so you're down to 9 stamina from your 12.
Alright, maybe clearing out trees wasn't such a good idea.
Maybe it'll pay off later, who knows?
I figured I'd get some wood for it, you know?
I guess. So here's a quick look at her character sheet as it stands right now. 9 out of 12. Okay. Maybe you'll get some fame for clearing the road, who knows? Okay, at length, you and Braxton roll the last and largest of the tree trunks to the rest against the side of the road, then collapse atop it for a brief rest. You are done. Good work, says Miriam, offering you each a drink of water from a tin cup. We should mention this in Dragonholt. It'll really help me get my business off the ground if people know I helped clear the road. Braxton glances at you over her drink but says nothing. Mark story point F7. All right, so F7. Maybe that will turn out to be something good for you. Who knows?
Maybe.
And then read entry 8557. Okay. After following the winding road for what feels like hours, you begin to fear that you are traveling in circles. Just as you are about to suggest turning back, Miriam calls out from behind or from beyond the next bend. There's a clearing up here. As you round the bend, you see Miriam staring up at a single massive tree that stands alone in the center of a clearing some 20 paces across. Though the great oak's canopy is just as thick as anywhere else in the forest, its branches reach well above the tops of the surrounding trees, affording you a view of the sky and at the edges of the clearing. If 3 or more time has passed, read this, otherwise read this. Well, we're on 4 at this point. Yeah, so we need to read 3549. 3549. There we go. It's already night. No wonder I feel so tired, Miriam mutters with a large yawn. Sure enough, when you look up, you see stars sparkling brightly in the vast emptiness of the night sky. You note how brilliant they seem so far from the torchlight of the city. At the edges of the clearing, several paths cut through the dense trees, leading away from the great oak in different directions. Only a few seem well traveled, but none are marked by signs. Braxton, too, has noticed the myriad options for further travel. We should get our bearings before making camp for the night. Miriam rolls her eyes at Braxton's suggestion. We can use the sun as our guide in the morning. I'm going to sleep. With that, she takes out a bedroll and makes camp at the base of the great oak. So you have 4 choices. Determine your heading by observing the stars. Requires arcana, devotion, or survival. You can convince Miriam to read the stars before she sleeps. Requires empathy or persuasion. Climb the great oak to look for a landmark. That's C. Requires agility or athletics. Lastly, D. Leave the navigation to Braxton and turn in for the night.
All right, read the first 3 again.
The first one, A. Determine your heading by observing the stars. That requires arcana, devotion, or survival. You can convince Miriam to read the stars before she sleeps. Requires empathy or persuasion. C is climb the great oak to look for a landmark. Requires agility or athletics.
Let's go with B.
B, convince Miriam to read the stars.
Yeah, because if she's wrong, I can just blame her.
I see. And you've got the required empathy
Persuasion.
skill? Empathy or persuasion. You got it. Okay. So that goes to 4017. Miriam seems eager to build the fire and turn in for the night. Who cares about the stars, she asks. We'll figure out which way to go in the morning. After some gentle prodding, however, she relents. Fine, fine, she says, and skips out into the center of the clearing, gazing up at the sky. Okay, there's Latariana's star, she says, pointing at a glimmering point in the velvet darkness that looks to your eye just like all the other stars. So that means we need to go that way, she says, pointing again. Right, job done. Mark story point P3.
P3.
All right. P3, so X that. Okay. On her way back, Miriam stops and leans down. She picks up something from the forest floor, examining it as she returns. What have you found? Asks Braxton. I'm not sure, says Miriam. I think this was carved by a human or an orc. Too rough to be made by an elf. A souvenir to remind you of our trip. Miriam tosses the trinket to you with a grin. You gain the wooden trinket, item B. So, I wonder if that's one of the cards that I have here.
Item B, wooden trinket.
Yes, I do. I will hold it up to the camera. It might be difficult to see, but I will read it to you. Can you see that?
No, it's blurry.
Okay. I will... Wooden trinket. You found this intricate wooden trinket at the Great Oak in Eventide Forest. It looks quite old. At heart, a heart is carved into the wood containing the letters T and U. So I'll just keep this nearby. If you want, I'll mark it on your character sheet as well. But,
what did it say? A heart?
With the letters T and U in it.
Is carved into it?
Yes, so item. I'm going to put, under your character sheet, I'm going to put item B, wooden trinket.
Yep. That's what I did. I also have like a little notepad, something like writing stuff down.
Okay, makes sense. I will save that. Okay. All right, read entry 8549. 8549. There we go. You assist Braxton in gathering some kindling and start a small campfire a few paces from the great oak. While you work, you can hear Miriam humming softly to herself. You set out your bedroll and relax. Although you are all tired, a brief chat around the campfire is not an unwelcome event. A. Ask Miriam what she plans to do in Dragonholt. B. Ask Braxton what she plans to do in Dragonholt. C. Go straight to sleep.
Let's switch it up. I'll ask Braxton. I want her to feel neglected.
Okay, this actually says require story point E7 is marked. Let's see if E7 was marked.
It is
It
marked.
was. Okay, so there's that. So I bet you that's so you don't repeat, because you already know that Miriam is setting up an alchemy shop, right? Or apothecary.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why it requires certain things to be marked. So
I see.
E7, okay, so you've marked that. This option does not exhaust your activation token. Read entry 4945. Okay. Braxton smiles gently, nodding her head in Miriam's direction. I will continue to protect our friend Miriam for as long as she requires my services. As you may have noticed, looking after her does not leave me much time for anything else. I resemble that remark, calls Miriam. After that, I am not certain. I was not certain what to do with myself before meeting Miriam either. I suppose I will travel to a larger city and try to find employment. Number of choices. A. Ask Braxton about her past adventures. B. Ask Braxton how she met Miriam. C. Tell Braxton about your past adventures. Requires deception or performance. D. Ask Braxton which lord she served. Requires empathy or history. E. Ask Braxton about her military training. History or military skill required. Or finally, F. Show Braxton how to foil sleight of hand. Requires awareness or thievery.
The one that required performance.
Tell Braxton about your past adventures.
Yes.
That one? Okay.
Yeah.
So, read entry 1984. Okay. Braxton listens to your tales of your exploits politely, nodding at the appropriate points and asking a handful of clarifying questions. I can tell that you're quite accomplished, she says. Miriam and I are lucky to be traveling with you. You get the distinct impression that she is humoring you. Mark story points S2 and W3.
All right. That's hilarious.
All right. S2 and W3,
Okay.
which is over here. Good old Excel. Okay. If 2 or more time has passed, read this. Okay. 4389. There we go. You change the subject, electing to ask Braxton what she knows about Dragonholt. I've never been to Dragonholt myself, says Braxton. Lord Kaler's lands were west of here, so I never had the occasion to visit. I did hear that the village has a fine inn. He heard that from me, calls Miriam. Miriam's aunt runs the place, says Braxton with a smile. Apart from that, I think the place is rather unremarkable. A small collection of houses surrounded by farms and orchards. She frowns and drums her fingers on the hilt of her sword, looking all around. Well, there was that one story about a brave hero who could freeze a dragon's flames in its throat, but I think that was just a story. Braxton lapses into a comfortable silence for some time. A. Ask Braxton about her family. B. Ask Braxton about orcs. Leave Braxton to her thoughts. C.
What was the first two again?
Ask her about her family, or ask her about orcs.
Let's go with family.
Okay, 2062.
I'd like to ask a lot of questions, apparently.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen them in years, she says. My brothers were not happy about me abandoning them to take service with Lord Kaler, but to be honest, I had to get away. After our father died, my brothers became more and more domineering. They wouldn't let my mother and me do anything without their permission. I was going on long hunting trips just to avoid them. It was on one of those trips that I met Lord Kaler. She glances up at the forest canopy as if to see her brothers there. It's funny, but now that I'm grown and a knight, I miss them. I'd like to see them again as equals. I'd like to meet them too, calls Miriam. Maybe break their kneecaps. Miriam doesn't like my brothers, explains Braxton, even though she doesn't know anything about them. They were awful to you, says Miriam. That's all I need to know. If 2 or more time has passed, read entry 1096. Okay. Miriam lets out a long yawn, and you second the motion. As you nestle into your bedroll for the night, Braxton speaks up. Best we don't all sleep at once. I'll take the first watch. Can I count on you to take the second? You nod your agreement and drift off to sleep. One of you must volunteer to keep watch. Refresh your activation tokens if you are keeping watch. The rest of you exhaust your activation tokens. 2 time passes and you each recover 2 stamina.
Okay.
Alright, so if 2 time has passed, let's go to that. So you're on time 6 on the New Roads track here.
Yep, and I recovered 2 stamina.
2 stamina, so you are now back up to 11 out of 12.
Yep.
Okay. You rouse from your slumber to gentle coaxing from Braxton. Your turn to watch, she says quietly. You rub your eyes for a moment and sit up, taking a drink from your canteen to wake yourself. You glance around camp at your fellow travelers. Braxton prepares her bedroll, lies down, and is quickly asleep. Miriam stirs for a moment, possibly awakened by the brief commotion, and then rolls to the other side. A gentle silence takes hold of the clearing. Your journey to Dragonholt has been a long one, but now you are no more than half a day's travel from your destination. The crack of burning branches from the campfire keeps you company as you keep watch. The moon is beginning to set, and you know the light of the new dawn will soon grace the forest clearing where you have made camp. Just then, you hear a rustling in the thick brush on one side of the camp and recall Braxton's warnings about bandits. So, A, do you watch for further movement or signs of danger? B, arm yourself and take a closer look? Or C, wake your fellow traveling companions?
That's a tough one. What was the first one?
Watch for further movement or signs of danger. B is arm yourself, take a closer look. C, wake your fellow traveling companions.
What would Santa do? She is kind of reckless. I'll arm myself and
Oh, that's not good. Okay, fine.
I know.
All right, 16.
It's what she would do. It's.
This is why you're making your own decisions in this. Okay, you grab your weapon and slip out of the camp, circling around toward where you heard the sound. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, you move silently from tree to tree, and as soon as you find yourself behind a small group of rough-looking people lurking in the bushes and watching your camp, bandits. Mark story point X1.
Listen, I'm just going by what she would do. She's reckless. She's like Miriam.
Right. Okay. There are 3 bandits directly in front of you, 2 men and a woman in torn and stained clothing and scraps of leather armor. The woman holds a strong bow across her knees and as she crouches, while one of the men has a spear and the other a long knife in his hand. Wasn't someone on watch by the fire, asks one of the men. I don't see anyone there now, says the woman. Quiet, wait for the signal. They clearly haven't noticed you. Just as clearly, they're intending to attack your traveling companions. Do you A, shout a warning to your traveling companions, B, draw your weapon and engage the bandits, or C, sneak up on the bandits and ambush them? Requires stealth.
Ooh, and I have stealth too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ambush them.
All right, 8408, here we go. You creep carefully up behind the bandits, ghosting up behind the man with the spear. Moving swiftly, you grab his spear and twist, tearing it from his grasp and bringing it across his throat. He gurgles and kicks, then goes still as you drag him into the dark forest. There's one of them in the trees, shouts the bow-armed woman, loosing an arrow blindly in your direction. The shaft passes within a hand's breadth of your head, and you see her pulling back to fire again. You drop your unconscious captive and sprint back to the camp. You hear confusion in the forest all around you as the bandits try to track you down. Read entry 9943. Okay. You shout a warning and rush back into the camp, hearing the bandits swear and move to follow you. We're supposed to wait for the signal, hisses one. That was the signal, shouts the other. As you skid to a stop by the campfire, you see Braxton already on her feet with a shield in hand. Miriam is still staggering out of her tangling blanket. What is this? What is it? Grumbles Miriam. What's going on? Bandits, rumbles Braxton, as a half a dozen of the desperate-looking figures run into the firelight, weapons held high. Read entry 4300.
Getting dicey.
Getting a little dicey. Braxton hefts a heavy steel shield and slashes her longsword threateningly at one of the approaching bandits. Miriam produces 2 flasks and unstoppers one of them. A thick, acrid smoke pours from its open mouth as she holds it aloft, ready to throw. 3 of the bandits suddenly rush forward, charging the camp. Miriam hurls the smoking flask, which smashes against one of their bucklers. A billowing cloud of acidic fog erupts from the impact site. The bandit shrieks and flails, dropping his buckler to the ground as it dissolves. The 2 other bandits continue their charge. One swings an axe at Miriam, but Braxton catches the blade with her longsword and slams her shield into the man, sending him tumbling to the ground. The 3rd bandit dodges around Braxton and darts straight toward you, spear point trained at your chest. Do you dodge the attack, catch the spear and disarm the bandit? Deflect the spear and counterattack, requires dueling or military. Or D, blast the bandit with a rune, requires arcana or runes.
Runes? I have arcana.
What would you like to do?
That last one, the
okay.
arcana one.
All right, 3607. You produce a blasting rune from a hidden pocket. With a violent thrust of your hand, you channel the arcane energy from the shard into the ground before the charging bandit. The earth swells before erupting in an explosive spray of molten shrapnel. The explosion occurs closer to you than you had anticipated, and you throw yourself to the ground to avoid a shower of shattering stone.
Whoops.
If you do not have agility, you lose 3 stamina.
Haha, I do have agility.
You do have agility. You do?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Look at that. Okay. When the dust settles, you see the bandit lying motionless beside the smoldering crater. If story point H3 is marked.
It is not.
It is not. Okay. Otherwise, read 9513.
Darn.
It's fine. For Kaler in Harmon, bellows Braxton. In the flickering firelight, she seems a demon from a nightmare, huge and dark and powerful. 3 of the bandits attempt to surround her, but she pivots away, slamming her shield into one and knocking her down, then slashing at a second and sending him screaming into the dark, clutching at his face. She trades blows with a large human, his axe sliding off her shield, her sword flickering past his face as he dances forward. You notice a bandit with his hair in a long braid creeping up behind Braxton with a knife glimmering in his hand. Focused as Braxton is on her battle with the large bandit, she clearly has not noticed. Do you intercept the approaching bandit, catch the bandit from behind, or stop the bandit with an alchemical concoction? Requires alchemy.
Dang it. What was the first 2?
Intercept the approaching bandit or catch the bandit from behind.
I'm going to intercept.
5517. You leap forward and shout a challenge to the braid-wearing bandit who spins and sneers at you with crooked teeth. The bandit brandishes a knife and you begin to circle one another warily. I'll gut you like a bloated fish, he shrieks and hurls himself at you. His attack is clumsy, more passionate than skilled, and you soon see your opportunity. If you have brawling or dueling, do this. Otherwise, do this.
Right. I have to do the otherwise.
Yeah, 4585. You grab up a burning brand from the nearby campfire, but before you can use it for anything, the bandit slashes at you with the knife, cutting open a ragged tear across your chest. You lose 4 stamina.
Oh, man.
Okay, so you're down to 7. You swing your burning branch over your head and thrust it at the bandit, sending him leaping backward with a squawk. He jabs out with his knife, preventing you from following up and finishing him off. Behind him, you see Braxton slam her shield solidly into the assailant, then spin and bring her sword down on the braided bandit. He shrieks, then falls, and Braxton turns back to the axe-wielding brute without a word. 2004. Okay.
What I get for saving Braxton.
Your companions are still locked in combat with the bandits who swarm around the edges of the light provided by your campfire. Screaming incoherently, a scared bandit rushes at you. In one hand, he brandishes a studded iron mace. The other arm ends in a steel hook, its metal glinting in the firelight. Do you rush forward to engage the bandit? Brace yourself to receive the charge, requires military. Flee and attack at range, requires arcana, archery, or thievery. Or protect yourself with an alchemical mixture, requires alchemy.
The one that requires arcana.
Flee and attack at range.
Yes.
Okay. Read entry 3568. Okay. You maneuver through the melee, dodging around Braxton and another orc woman. Then you break away from the fray, sprinting toward the Great Oak, hoping to put enough range between yourself and the bandit so that you can attack from safety. If you have agility or athletics, read this. Otherwise, read this. So you have agility.
I do have agility.
5414. Okay. The bandit gives chase, but you are too quick for him. You sprint away until you have enough distance to deal with the bandit at your leisure. Loose an arrow at your pursuer requires archery. Harass the man with thrown knives requires thievery. Or incapacitate the bandit with runic magic requires arcana.
Arcana.
Okay, 2407.
I knew I should have picked thievery.
You fumble in your pack for a rune that might help. After a moment, you fish out a flame rune and clutch it tightly in your hand. A scalding heap envelops you, and you push the energy forward to surround your pursuer. Within a moment, all of the metal the bandit carries glows white-hot. He shrieks as the blazing metal of his mace sears his palm. He drops it to the ground, yet the man still screams. He flails about, staggering this way and that in an attempt to escape the burning hot hook at the end of his arm. 2399. You find yourself standing in a loose circle with your companions and no bandits close at hand. Even more of the enemy emerge from the trees, however they begin to surround you. What now? Breathes Miriam. You're sure it's the first time you've heard fear in her voice. The bandit's leader chuckles and speaks, causing the firelight to play off the long scar on the side of the face in a sinister way. Drop your valuables and leave. There is no need for you to die here. The other bandits hoot and howl and brandish their blades and axes in the air in front of you. Braxton glances sideways at you. There are too many of them. We cannot win this fight. She edges backward, and you notice her lean in the direction of Dragonholt. You can't have my gold. I'll be using it to start my business, hisses Miriam. Despite the bite in her words, you notice her hands trembling. A. Fend off the bandits long enough for the others to escape. Requires brawling, dueling, or military. Create a diversion and flee toward Dragonholt. Requires deception or performance. C is create a smoke screen and escape toward Dragonholt. Requires alchemy. Or turn tail and run. Requires nothing.
Deception and performance.
Create a diversion. Okay. So that's 5280. Using the darkness to your advantage, you throw your voice, making it sound if soldiers are approaching through the trees. The village guards, yells one bandit. Here, leg it, lads. It's a trick, you credulous clods, bellows the bandit leader. But the panic that ripples through his minions is enough for you and your companions to slip away. After them. Read entry 3645. You run through the eventide forest, scrambling and stumbling as you go. You are surprised to discover that you can see, and you realize that the sun must already be rising somewhere beyond the trees. Time passes. All right, so this is number 7. Okay. The narrow and twisting path soon comes to a steep climb with a rocky outcropping that rises above on either side. A large standing stone towers to your right. You can hear the bandits still coming behind you, shouting to their fellows like hounds on the hunt, but any pursuer will have to scramble up the same narrow gulch. A. Tip over the standing stone to block the path. B. Fire with your bow from the high ground, requires archery. C. Set a trap for the approaching bandits, requires survival.
Tip. I have to do the first one.
You have survival.
No, wait, I have survival. That's right. Okay, yeah, let's do that one.
3575. You quickly make a set of snares that tether to young trees at the top of the gulch. Then you cover them with a handful of leaves and gravel. You urge your companions on and fall on. You urge your companions on and fall back as the bandits grow closer, hooting and baying as they come. Their shouts turn to cries of alarm as you hear the first of your snares yank a bandit off his feet. Read entry 5129. With the bandits preoccupied by your efforts back at the gulch, you are able to gain a considerable lead on them. The rocky terrain continues to rise up around you, the trees of Eventide Forest becoming smaller and scrappier as you go. Soon you come to a sheer cliff face. Only a few scraggly trees cling to the rocks rising above you. Sunlight spills across the sky above the cliff, a promise of freedom and safety. You could climb up to the top, but it would be a challenge. The path continues to the left a fair distance, then becomes a tight switchback crawling up to the top of the rise. It would be a safer route to the top, but slower than climbing directly. Do you climb the cliff face or run for the switchback path?
Oh. Let's climb.
Okay, 4055. You do have agility, so that might help you out, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Okay, you scramble up the cliff face, relying on trees that cling to cracks in the rock for handholds. This proves unwise, as not all of the trees are anchored securely enough to bear your weight, and you find yourself dangling from your fingertips above a steep drop. You each lose 2 stamina unless you have athletics.
Oh, dang it.
So you're down to 5 stamina.
5.
Miriam isn't making things any easier either, despite Braxton's efforts. I'll be fine, she huffs. I'm not the only one here who needs help, she says with a nod at you. In fairness to the gnome, she's not dangling from her fingertips. Braxton makes her way to you and helps you regain your footing. Test each toe hold before you put your weight on it, she says. You resume your climb, but you hear shouting below. The bandits have reached the bottom of the cliff. They immediately begin pelting you with arrows and stones, making the rest of the climb a nightmare. You each lose 3 stamina unless you have the agility skill.
Ooh.
You're good there.
Okay.
Finally, you make it to the top, gasping for breath. You are safe from the bandits' arrows up here, but the bandits have already begun to climb up after you. A. Do you throw rocks at the bandits? B. Return fire with your bow requires archery. C. Smash a vial of alchemical fire on the cliff face requires alchemy. Or blast the cliff face with runic magic requires arcana or runes.
Arcana.
All right, 3967. You produce a blasting rune from an interior pocket and calmly bend the energy within to your will. You extend a phantom limb toward the rocks below and with a clenched fist impact the cliff face. Stones and earth shatter and fly, showering the climbing bandits with rocky shrapnel. A great cloud of dirt and dust covers the path below, causing the bandits to cough and sputter. Soon the bandits are running from the cloud, retreating into the forest. You have escaped. Read 999. Okay. As the sun climbs above the trees, you continue your journey toward Dragonholt. At your new elevation, the trees are smaller and further apart, and at some point you have passed an invisible barrier where you're not in a forest so much as a rocky plain with occasional trees. Dragonholt lies below you, and you can see the beacon tower rising above the trees, the sun climbing the sky behind it. You have less than an hour of walking before you. Time passes. So we are now at 8 on your... So you've used all 8 time.
Mm-hmm.
At length you walk through an orchard, the twisted trees heavy with fruit and propped up by weathered boards and poles. Then you find yourself on Dragonholt's main street, walking beneath the dueling dragon statues that serve as the closest thing to a city gate. One dragon is carved from black stone, the other from white, and they arch across the street above you, not quite touching. Marvelous, breathes Braxton. Some sort of memorial of the Dragon Wars, says Miriam. This way, she says, and skips down the cobbled street as if she hadn't been woken in the middle of the night by bandits. You cross a crowded village green that is laid out before a garden shrine with a domed glass ceiling. In front of the shrine stands a marble spire, atop which burns a beacon fire. Then you pass a building dark with soot and marred by broken windows. Miriam pauses at an intersection and peers down 2 side streets before nodding vigorously and leading the way south. We'll get a proper breakfast as soon as we find my aunt's inn, she says. It's called the Swan. Does it have a lovely white swan painting on its sign, asks Braxton. Yes, it does, says Miriam. Then that is it there, just there. She points and Miriam beams. That's it, let's go. She rushes off in a fresh burst of energy, leaving you stumbling along behind. When you finally reach the swan, you find Miriam babbling excitedly to a gnome who looks almost exactly like her plus 20 years. You must be Miriam's friend, says the older woman. I'm Miriam's aunt, Sapphire. It's good to meet you. She welcomes you inside, and you step down into a blessedly cool, half-sunken common room with a scattering of thick oak tables and sturdy chairs lie beneath rafters strung with herbs and root vegetables. Thick iron lanterns rest on each table, none lit now, and light streams in from tall windows against the south wall. Please have a seat, says your host, and you do. We made it, says Braxton, dropping heavily into a chair that creaks under her weight. I think I could sleep for a week. None of that, says Miriam. We have work to do. Braxton lifts her head and glares. Starting tomorrow, I guess. Let's all take today off. Miriam vanishes into a back room, then appears a few minutes later with a tray rattling with glass bottles of red liquid. Here, says, and distributes the bottles. It's the least I can do for helping me getting to safety. You gain 3 healing potions, item A. Distribute these potions amongst yourselves as you choose. So, I will add that to your items and then show the camera what it is. So you got 3 healing potions. 3 healing potions. Okay, and that is card A, which, again, you may not be able to see it very well, but
it's pretty blurry.
That's fine. That's what that looks like. And then I'll read it. It says, the liquid burns your throat like bitter fire, but quickly heals open wounds and broken bones. Whenever you drink this potion, recover half of your maximum stamina.
Wow.
Half of your maximum stamina. Your max stamina is 12, so you would gain 6 points. That would bring you up to 11 should you drink one now. But I don't know if you're going to rest and get more stamina back at some point.
Yeah, I'll wait on it.
Okay. Okay. Healing potion, quick note. You can carry multiple healing potions. There's only one copy of the healing potion card, which should be shared as a reference among all players. Okay, got that. You may drink the potion at any time. Okay. If you're playing with 2 or more heroes, you can drink a potion only if your activation token is... Okay, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, moving on. Sapphire returns a moment later with a larger tray, overflowing with plates of yellow eggs, loaves of dark brown bread, and a tall pitcher of milk. I hope you'll stay at the Swan for as long as you like, she says. No charge, of course, not after what you went through to get my Miriam here safely. Miriam pours everyone a glass of milk. She holds her aloft and exclaims, to new roads. Braxton takes a glass, holds it up, and looks from Miriam to Sapphire to you, to new friends. The meal is amazing, and you soon collapse in a room provided by your generous host. You doze through the majority of the day. After dinner, you rest in a common room, chattling idly with Braxton and another patron. Soon, lack of good night's sleep is too much, and you retire to your room. You will have to explore Dragonholt on the morrow. You each recover half of your maximum stamina.
Wow.
So there you go. So you're up to 11 now. You each recover 1 skill. That is, if you had your stamina gone to 0, you'd have to disable one of your skills, and then your stamina will go back up to 1. In this case, you don't have to worry about that because you didn't go take that much damage. Mm-hmm. You refresh your activation tokens. You each gain 1 experience. Okay, cool. So I'll give you 1 experience. Your fame increases by 1, so you're up to 3 fame.
Hey.
This quest is complete. Read entry 1001 in the Dragonholt Village book. Quick note about earning experience. At the end of a quest or after a particularly harrowing event, an effect might cause you to gain 1 or more experience. Experience is an abstract measure of what you have learned during your adventures. Record the amount of experience you have accrued on your character sheet. You will be able to spend your experience to learn new skills in the future. And then a note on fame. As you and your companions continue your adventures, you will accrue fame. Fame is an abstract measure of how well known you are to the public and how they feel about you as heroes. A high fame indicates that you are well known and well liked by the community. Fame is recorded for the group as a whole on the story tracking sheet. Okay, and that is the end of 2 new roads. And I think the next one that we will do at some point is the very thick Dragonholt Village book, which, yeah, is there 30 to 50 minutes per chapter. So
I can't wait.
So you can't wait, huh? So what did you think of your experience? Did you enjoy it?
That was awesome. I actually loved it. It reminded me of those Goosebump books. The Choose Your Own Adventure Goosebump books. I owned all of them.
Wait, Goosebumps?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they had. I didn't know Goosebumps had Choose Your Own Adventure. I know there were those Choose Your Own Adventure. They were like white with the red highlighted title cover. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm talking about? Like there was the
I think
house
so,
and the
yeah.
space. Those weren't Goosebumps though. Unless Goosebumps
Goosebumps
had their
had
own.
them.
They had their own,
Goosebumps
really?
had them.
Okay, well there
Yeah.
you go. That's cool. I did not
Yep.
know that.
It was pretty awesome. And every time I went, like, I lost and I got into a dead end, I would just go back and,
That's why you always
re-pull.
put your finger in the last page before you pick something, and then you flip back if
Yeah.
something bad happens. Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I never did it. I've seen people do it.
I thought it was really fun. How did you feel about the game as the narrator?
A lot of reading. My voice is starting to get a little.
Oh,
I
a
mean,
little
it's
horse?
yeah. I'm gonna have to for the next session. I'm gonna have to look ahead and see how long the first chapter is, and if it's too long, maybe I'll break it up. We'll see how it goes. But
Was it easy finding the numbers, like where to
yeah,
go?
it wasn't bad at all. Like I don't want to spoil anything, but here's a quick on this
Oh,
page.
okay.
There's the numbers are clearly marked, so I can easily go where to go next. And then on the bottom of each page, this way. On the bottom of each page is a little
Ah,
guide. It says, the pages on this page are this through this, so you can easily, you know.
okay.
So
Do you wanna switch roles next chapter?
no. Why would I
You
switch?
sure?
No. We're gonna continue your story here.
Okay.
I think you'd enjoy that more anyway. You just want to do
I
funny accents. That's all.
I do. I really do. I
Okay.
like the reading. And it's the first time you've ever read to me, like really read to me. I feel like it was a bedtime story. It was cute.
Wow. Okay, as long as you had fun, that's all that matters.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, there you go, folks. That was Legacy of Dragonholt, at least the first part of it. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you guys haven't already, subscribed to me on Twitch and YouTube. That way you can stay up to date with any new content I'm going to publish. This is Vince and Ida Lee. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you guys next time. Take care.
Bye, guys.